Welcome to this edition of the Lifework Podcast. Today we are joined by Caleb Garner. We're excited to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Excited to be here.
You are finishing up your second year here at Williams? First year. Wow, it seems like two, but just one.
Seems like two. It's definitely year one.
Okay. Well, you made it.
I
Congratulations.
survived.
You survived.
That was the theme of the year, survive in advance.
You know, I remember my first year of full-time faculty appointment. My goal was to stay one lesson ahead of my students. And most of the time, not always, but most of the time, I was able to pull it off. Just, I'm ready for today. Tomorrow's a new day.
I was drinking out of a fire hose.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you on board here at Williams. And again, as I did previously, welcome to the university. Glad to have you here. You are already a rock star status, and we'll talk a little bit more about your program and the way it's growing and things. But before we do that, tell our listeners what you actually do here.
So, I am the department chair for the Health and Physical Education Department, assistant professor of sports management. So, I oversee our health and PE program as well as our sports management program, which is one of our younger programs on campus, but one of our more.
I'll go ahead and say what I was wanting to say, but it's one of, if not the fastest growing academic program on campus right now.
But and I also serve as our faculty athletics rep, so get to have a hand in the athletic department a little bit and work with some eligibility and kind of be the voice between our athletes and their professors.
So you're finishing your first year here, but you're not an Arkansas native, are you?
I'm not. I'm from a little state further south down in Mississippi.
Is it a state?
Yes, it is.
At one time, it didn't want to be.
At one point it didn't, but we won't go there.
Oh, we won't. Okay. So you are from the great state of Mississippi. Is that where you were born and raised?
I was born in Starkville, Mississippi, and grew up about 20 miles southeast in the boondocks of Brooksville, Mississippi, where I was related to about a quarter of the population. So
wow. The boondocks of Mississippi. I'll walk away from that one. So much I could do with that. I'll leave it alone so I won't get myself in any more trouble than I apparently already am. Grew up an Ole Miss fan?
No, that's fighting words. Mississippi State.
Sorry. Ouch. He hit me, folks. He hit me. No, he didn't.
I grew up a Mississippi State fan and went to school there for 7 years, got 2 degrees out of it, and, then worked my way up to Arkansas.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the growing up part of your life. So, what was the actual name of the community where you grew up?
So the community is Lynn Creek.
Okay.
It's named after an old Cumberland Presbyterian church in that area, where we go to dinner on the grounds every about this time every year, and it'd be 95 degrees and humid and fighting bugs and eating lunch.
It is Mississippi.
And but I grew up in a small church, small town, about 1,200 people, and it was home.
Yeah.
It was a cozy little town, cozy county. Everybody knew everybody, which was a good thing and also a bad thing sometimes, where you knew everybody. And but it was a good upbringing. It was good to kind of have those connections.
Do you still have family there?
My parents still live there, so we moved 3 times in my childhood.
Okay.
And they were within about 8 miles apart, the houses were. And so my parents have been living in their current house since I was about 5 years old.
Wow.
And they've stayed rooted there. That's where they are. My grandmother lives right across the road from them, and then other relatives live within about 10 minutes or so.
Wow. So tell me about your family. What'd your parents do for a living?
Yeah. So my dad had a series of jobs, but the most consistent one he had when I was growing up, he worked for a cement plant. He worked as a dairy farmer for a while, went and worked for the cement plant. And then when he got laid off from there, he was kind of job hopping a little bit, just trying to make ends meet.
Sure.
He sold cheese. He at the Mississippi State cheese store. We make really good cheese there.
Did not know Mississippi was the producer of cheese.
Yes, it is. But sold cheese. He sold tractors. Now he's doing some economic development stuff with small towns, and he really loves that.
Good for him.
And my mom, she worked as a business manager for Mississippi State University Department of or Continuing Education, Distance Education. They kind of changed names a lot, but she worked there for, I think, 28 years or something, and recently retired from the state, and is now doing some business management for a barge lumber company, which is one of the largest lumber producers in the world. Also owned by an incredible family that they've had a little bit of that family's kind of had an indirect impact in my walk with Christ, and we can kind of get there in just a little bit.
Well, I want to do that. So, any siblings?
I have one sister. She's a couple years younger than me. She lives in Port Allen, Louisiana.
So, when your parents look at where their two children are living, is there one that they're saying, I can't believe you're living in that state. Don't you know where you were raised? Don't you know who we are? Don't you know our people?
No.
Is it the Louisiana or the Arkansas?
Not really. They like it in a way because it's almost like equal distance between the two.
Okay.
So both are about 4 hours apart.
Is your sister younger or older?
She's 2 years younger.
Okay. All right.
So we grew up, I mean, our rooms were 10 feet from each other. So we got close, but we also, had this typical sibling fights here.
Sure. So growing up in a very small town, your parents are hardworking people. Your mother's working for Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
Your father is in all kinds of industries and opportunities in the marketplace. When you look back, and of course this is the Lifework Podcast, and we talk about work and we talk about vocation and calling, and I often ask my guests, when you look back on your growing up years, what are some things that you remember about the way your parents worked, how they worked, their ethic, that really sticks in your mind, that made an indelible impression upon you today?
I really think I was when I was going through and preparing for this, I was reflecting on it. Was a good exercise, but like one thing I noticed from my dad, especially after he was laid off from a job that he had for almost 20 years.
That'd have been tough.
Even there were some of those jobs in there he hated. Yeah. He absolutely hated, but he showed me the importance of working hard regardless of not liking that job. He also worked for a meat processing company one time, and he hated it, but he worked hard as if working for the Lord. My mom, the same thing. There were hard times whenever she was working. I mean, you just deal with people when you're working. And she just really showed me the importance of, keeping that focus on working hard because other people are watching. It's also your witness and things like that. And sometimes God puts us in situations, experiences that we may not necessarily like at the time, but they're part of that path that he wants for us.
Last year when Dr. Brian Putman was my co-host, we had a whole session devoted to working in a world that is cursed under the fall, thorns and thistles. And I don't think we often appreciate that living in a fallen world, there will be thorns and thistles in our work. And our parents had to deal with that too. And so what I'm hearing you say is one impression your father made was as he wrestled with the thorns and thistles of losing a job he had for a long time, probably enjoyed that job, but knowing he had a family to care for and responsibility for their provision. And sometimes you just got to work. And the joy of that hard work that you may not have picked is, well, at least I'm caring for my family, providing for them. Is that fair?
Yeah, and hard work, that's a theme that I've kind of noticed just kind of looking back at not just my parents, but my grandparents. I mean, my great-grandfather had dairy cows for a long time until I was about 4. He had catfish ponds. He was a county supervisor. My grandfather, so my dad's dad, was immigrated from Canada when he was a teenager and he had a local feed store. And I remember working for him as a young kid for $20 and a hamburger. I mean, just loading feed sacks.
Listen, if I'd known that you could work for that when we were negotiating your salary here, hey, buddy,
but like just
$20 a day and a hamburger.
I just had those fond memories of working. Yeah. That's when a lot of those memories came with my extended family, not just my parents, but my extended family was, working with them or being with them while they work.
Right.
Was kind of the big thing, and just working hard and just doing your best.
I was thinking about your mother's job and having to deal with some people that are not always kind in return, and thinking there's probably some lessons there that prepared you for what you're doing today in your teaching and service in the faculty. I probably want to come back to that one, but before we leave the childhood of Caleb behind, grew up, and you mentioned a moment ago, in a family of faith, strong family commitment, growing up in church. Tell our listeners about that part of your life.
So I grew up in a small town where everybody went to church. My mom was a VBS director for a long time, so I was there every summer. Even though I was participating in VBS, I was also helping set up and take down. And
of course,
I was there early, I was there late. Sunday nights and Wednesday nights, Sunday mornings, those were dedicated to church time.
Yeah.
Like that was what we did. And as I got older, Sunday nights became youth group nights and things like that. There was my church didn't really have a bustling youth group, but a church in our county seat did. It was kind of First Baptist Macon, had everybody just kind of flocked there, regardless if you were Baptist or if you were Methodist or even Pentecostal. Everybody just kind of showed up, and it was a good, we all went to school together, so it was just another time to hang out. But yeah, I just grew up. My dad was a deacon and still is. And I came to Christ early, about 7 or 8, because I just kind of was saturated with, knowing, with a Christ honoring family that they early on told me, this is what it looks like to follow Jesus.
So, hardworking family, growing up in a small community, growing up involved in church, have a relationship with the Lord. For a lot of our listeners, that is a very similar growing up experience, especially those of my generation and maybe a little bit younger than that. That is very reflective of how many of us grew up. And somewhere along the way, in a family of hardworking people, in a great community, though small, but a supportive community, involved in church, walking with the Lord, somewhere in this, the love of sport surely had to come on.
Oh yeah,
the radar, because you are now immersed in that in a professional way. Where did the love of athletics, of competition, come in?
So it started really early. I kind of go back to those Saturday mornings working for my grandfather at the feed store, where I had to read the newspaper first because the sports section was also the crossword section. So I had to get
it before he messed it up.
I had to get it before he got to it.
Yeah,
because he'd fold it up into 18 different folds, and then I just wouldn't be able to. But I just loved the stats, reading it all, reading the different stories, and just kind of keeping up, especially with local sports. And that was just one of those things that I just always loved. I have this fun talent of knowing a ton, an obscene amount of college mascots. Like that is
a hidden talent.
That my wife kind of discovered it recently, like maybe about a year ago.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh, this is fun.
St. Louis University.
Billikens.
Okay. You're legit. If you know that.
But yeah, so, road trips, that's my road trip trick. Like if we get bored, instead of the license plate game, we just start shouting off colleges, and I see and try to stump me. That's usually how it works.
So did you play sports?
I played sports. I was definitely one of the ones picked last a lot of times.
Oh no!
But I played. I played baseball a little bit. I played basketball a little bit. Played football mostly. That was kind of where I played a little bit more.
It is the South.
It is the South.
Yeah.
But I just really loved the other side of it. I was a PA announcer for the teams that I didn't play for, or I was, I kept stats.
When you were a kid, you did that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I kept stats for my sister's summer league softball team. Like that was my way of contributing and being a part of a team. And I didn't realize until I got to college that, you could do that as a job. And so a couple of major changes after I started school got me into that. But because I originally went to college to be a coach, thought it's like, I'm going to coach. One semester in, was like, nope, this ain't for me. Then was pre-physical therapy for a couple years, got kind of bogged down. I didn't really fall in love with it. And then just had some conversations with some people at the athletic department at Mississippi State, and boom.
So did you have any jobs in high school? Did you have any sports jobs in high school? What kind of jobs did you have while you were growing up? What was your first job where you actually got paid money?
So funny. Other
The
than
feed store?
the feed store, but other than like the first, job where I brought in a paycheck, an actual paycheck, was really my sophomore year of college.
Really? You didn't work in high school?
I didn't really work much in high school outside of weekends and stuff like that, and odd jobs around the community. But I was in school. My freshman year, I stayed on campus. I had a lot of stuff was paid for. Half my tuition was covered because my mom worked there. I had a scholarship and a little bit else. But then I moved home my sophomore year to save some money, and my mom said, "You've got to get a job." And so I worked for the MSU Police Department for 2 years.
Okay. Wait a minute here. This is new information. So you actually have a law enforcement background on a college campus.
Oh, no, I don't.
Well, you said you just worked for MSU's police department.
I was the parking ticket guy.
Okay.
I was the one who typed in the information.
Most unpopular guy on the college campus.
I didn't give the parking tickets, though.
Oh, okay.
I'm the one who they turn them into me. I type them in the system, and then that puts it on their bill.
You were the anonymous enforcer then.
I was.
Oh, wow.
I took a lot of pride in that job.
These things with the faculty this year is just, I keep learning stuff I did not know. Before we leave high school behind, were there any significant moments maybe spiritually in high school? 'Cause a lot of people that I have as guests on here talk about, there was this moment in high school when the faith in which I early professed, in which I was raised, became really meaningful to me. Or maybe it was early college, somewhere along there. Was there one of those moments that you vividly remember?
I don't think it was one particular moment. I think it was a collection of moments. So I came to Christ about 7 or 8 at a men's wild game supper hosted by my church. But I went to church. I didn't really have any hardcore straying from the faith kind of story. It was just kind of going through the motions a lot. And kind of the later years of high school, I started to really realize the importance of surrounding yourself with people who will challenge you in your faith, but also encourage you in your faith. And I found a group of people in high school that really helped me with that. And that kind of spilled over into college, where I got involved with the Baptist Student Union there, really found a group of people who I knew could, that the Lord led me to kind of encourage me in my faith. My roommate was really influential. I haven't talked to him in years, but he was really influential in that. And just other people around there. But also the biggest one that I kind of teased a little bit early on, the Barge family, they own a camp. They own land for a camp there called Lake Forest Ranch.
Okay.
It's a summer camp, and I worked there for 2 summers.
Okay.
And end of my freshman year. So that was the first really paying job. But but I worked
legit.
Yeah, but I worked 2 summers. First year was on work staff, which was a lot of behind the scenes, cleaning tables, serving food, taking out trash, doing the stuff that nobody else wants to do. And those 2 summers were probably some of the most formative summers of my life, spiritually at least, just because for 12 weeks out of the summer, we were just in the Word every single day. We were encouraging each other in our faith. We were doing life with each other every single day. People that, they went to Mississippi College, they went to Bryan College, they went all over the place, but we were all there for one reason, and that was to serve. And so that those 2 summers really were formative for me in learning how to serve as a follower of Christ, and also really just kind of, bringing into that work theme a little bit with being on work staff. That was where we really dove into a couple of books. I wrote it down on my The Freedom of Self-Forgetfulness, Tim Keller, and
he's kind of a thing.
And then Practice of the Presence of God by Brother Lawrence were 2 books that I've read multiple times over and over, because it's just so powerful of, serving the Lord in the mundane, in sweeping floors,
Yeah.
cleaning tables, taking out trash. Like that's what it's all about.
You're preaching my song now. Right? You preach my sermon. I like that. So what I want to do is put a pin on this one.
Okay.
And then I want to pick this conversation up in our next episode. Are you good with that?
Let's go.
All right. Thanks.